Hi guys, welcome to our vlog, and we are here to discuss the lesson about environmental economics.
First, we need to discuss what is environmental economics. Environmental economics is an area of economics that studies the financial impact of environmental policies. It's a study which can help you to determine the theoretical or empirical effects of environmental policies on the economy. Also, the environmental economics is a particular specialization of neoclassical economics, which studies two interlinked questions. First, the problem of the environmental externalities. Second, ascertaining the optimal price of a resource. As a means of mitigating the externalities that come with the use of the environment and natural resources. Environmental economics, there is some difficulties when it comes to destruction or overuse of environmental goods like pollution or other kinds of environmental degradation na maaaring maging dahilan o pagkakaroon ng bagsak na ekonomiya dahil sa mga tinatawag na externalities. Now let's talk about the economy and the environment. In this part, I will explain how the economy and the environment are interlinked. In other words, we can say that every economic action can have some effect on the environment, and every environmental change can have some impact on the economy. The economy pertains to the institutions, yung mga firms, government, and also yung mga markets. In environment, we mean the biosphere, in which all living and non-living things occurring naturally. Now let's talk about the connection of the economy and the environment. We can simplify the economy into two sectors, which is the production and the consumption. Exchanges of goods, services, and factors of production takes place between these two sectors. The production extracts energy and material resources from environment and then transformed into outputs. The environment role is as a supplier and sink or receptor for waste products naman. Bakit at paano? Kasi pag ang isang individual ay nagtapon ng basura o nag-ambag sa polusyon sa pamamagitan ng paggamit ng sasakyan, they were contributing to this kind of waste. In some cases, waste are biologically and are chemically processed by the environment. At kagaya nga ng nabanggit ko kanina na nagiging dahilan ng pagkakaroon ng externalities. And because of that, an externality can be positive or negative, but it is usually associated with negative externalities in environmental economics.
Hey guys, my name is Joanne and I'm here to discuss the scope of environmental economics.
The first scope of environmental economics is economy environment analysis. This is where all external economic factors influence buying habits of consumers and businesses, and therefore affect the performance of a company. These factors are often beyond a company's control and may be either a large-scale macro or small-scale micro. The second one is eco-development. This is where all the advancement and the transformation in the overall condition of the ecosystem, especially regarding the lesser land, water, and air pollution, as well as lesser destruction of vegetation and risk to the wildlife. Environmental development also involved all positive changes brought about in a particular geographical area through people-centered political, economic, social, cultural, and even diplomatic efforts for a better place for all life. The third one is welfare approach. Environmental economics has emerged as a discipline to tackle environmental problems from an economic welfare framework. The welfare framework covers scarce resources and market failures due to property rights and ethical aspects of different problems of pollution. The fourth one is dynamic and stock flow analysis. Dynamic material flow analysis, or MFA, is a frequently used method to assess past, present, and future stocks and flows of metals in the atmosphere. Over the past 15 years, dynamic MFA has contributed to increased knowledge about the quantities, qualities, and location of the metal-containing goods. The fifth one is environmental values. Economists recognize two broad categories of environmental values: use and non-use. Use values flow from services that affect people directly, such as food production, flood regulation, recreation opportunities, and potable water provision. Non-use values are the less tangible. For example, the desire for endangered tigers to continue to exist, even though we will never see them in the wild. The sixth one is clean technology. Presently, environmental pollution is caused by misuse of existing technology and failure to develop a better one. Environmental economies are in favor of appropriate and clean technology which provide the most rational use of natural resources and energy to protect the environment. The seventh one is international cooperation. There are many international issues like hazard of transboundary shipments, unwanted substances, and common property resources, which need international cooperation among nations. There are many negative effects of inadequate toxic wastes generated within the countries and hazardous goods exported to the other country. This is why most countries of the world are insisting on a uniform standards and environmental regulation for all nations. Other issues are related to international common property resources, especially the share of river water and forest land, etc. The eighth one is conservation policy. The long-standing foundation of environmental economics lies in conservation economics, which tend to emphasize the impact of economic activities on demand for productive resources and energy resources. It suggests the optimal strategy in the utilization of natural resources in a rational manner. And the last one is multidisciplinary base. Multidisciplinary approaches are required to address the complex environmental problems of our time. Solutions to climate change problems are good examples of situations requiring complex synthesis of ideas from a vast set of disciplines including science, engineering, social science, and the humanities.
And those are the scope of environmental economics. Thank you for listening.
Here are the 7 central questions in environmental economics. If environmental protection is costly, how much should we spend on pollution control? Is it worth reducing pollution to zero, or should we accept some level of pollution because of other benefits associated with it? In making these decisions, how we compare the benefit of a clean environment with the cost of pollution control? Unlike many of the conventional goods and services that contribute to household living standards, clean air and the environmental goods do not have market prices, so we need some other way to work out and how much they are worth. What techniques are available to help us to do this, and how reliable are they? Is government intervention in the economy needed to reduce pollution, or can we rely on the market economy to get us to the optimal outcome? What form should government policies take to cut pollution?
Jeremy Nicole BACANI, and today I will be discussed about the nature of environmental economics. First, let's define what is the nature of environmental economics. It focuses primarily on how and why people make decisions that have consequences for the natural environment. It is concerned also with how economic institutions and policy can be changed to bring these environmental impacts more into balance with human desires and the needs of the ecosystem. In nature of environmental economics is four aspects. First is the positive and normative aspect. Second is the micro and macro aspect. Third is the static and dynamic aspect. And the last is as a social science. First is the positive and normative economics. In positive economics, it is based on the data and facts. It is descriptive and it's also explain cause and effect relationship between variables. It is objective and asks what actually is. And statement can be tested or proved and it describe economic issue. And next is the normative economics. It is based on opinions and values. It is narrow. It is also past value conclusion. It is subjective and asks what ought to be. And the statement cannot be tested and it provides solutions based on values. The second aspect is the micro and macroeconomics. Microenvironment refers to the environment which is direct contact with company and affects the routine activities of the business straight away. Microenvironment is defined as the nearby environment under which firm operates. The factors or elements in a firm's immediate environment which affect its performance and decision making. These elements include the firm supplies, competitors, market intermediaries, customers, and publics. Next is the macro environment. It is the major uncontrollable external forces like the economic, demographic, technological, natural, social and cultural, legal and political, which influence a firm's decision making and have an impact upon its performance. And it is a larger societal forces that affect the microenvironmental. Third is the static environment. It is the environment that is long-lived. They do not destroy the environment, but instead keep loading it with the latest and greatest version of the application. Any deployment or test result you get in one environment may not reflect what you actually get in production. Next is the dynamic environment. It is characterized by the people uncertainty of the environment that limits the ability of the managers to make decisions. And the last, the environmental as a social science. The environmental science, social science, major focus on economics, political and sociological interactions of human in the natural world. The department believes that to address environmental challenges, one must have an understanding of the science underlying them. And that's all for the nature of environmental economics.
Now I will tackle the model environment economics. Assumption. Number 1, it is assumed that the economic producing two sets of goods. And also number 2, composite goods M, which the aggregate of all existing goods and services, and environmental quality good, which also represents certain quality or emission reduction. And also number 3, the MEQ represent as production frontier, which explain the trade-off between economics activities and emission reduction. Working from figure 1, if the economics move from the point S to the point A on the ME curve, it means more production with increase in economic activity without increasing emission. On the other hand, if the economic move from the point S to point B on the ME curve, it means more emission reduction without reducing the economic activity. The level L, because point S and point B lie at the same time direction. In this connection, Ian Hood point out What we will find in the choices made about the environment depend upon the similar factors as the choices made in other areas of economics. Our views of changing in environmental quality depend, as do all prices, upon supply and demand factors. How much the environment is supplied for particular purposes and how much is demanded. Thus, the process of the supply, production, and demand reference from clean environment and market instruments used by the state of the important issues in environmental policy.
Application of environmental economics.
Labor economics, the study of the labor force as an element in the process of production. The labor force comprises all those who work for gain within the labor market, whether as employees, self-employed, but also unemployed who are seeking work. Climate change and air pollution are serious environmental challenges that affect all of us at some point in our lives. Rising global temperatures will alter how people divide their time between work and recreation, affecting people's health and socioeconomic inequalities. Higher levels of pollution, on the other hand, decrease worker productivity. They can also increase manufacturing costs for businesses, particularly in exchange and labor-intensive sectors. The advantages of such environmental rules are likely to surpass any cost. The second application of environmental economics is health economics. Health economics concerned with the issues related to efficiency, effectiveness, and behavior in the production and consumption of health and healthcare. It provides framework for thinking about how society should allocate its limited health resources to meet people's demand or needs for healthcare services. In sectors such as climate change, outdoor air pollution, transportation, water, and sanitation, economic tools are increasingly being used to translate health benefits into economic value or to compare the effectiveness of competing policies. The example of health economics, for example, parents may have to pay higher healthcare costs related to pollution-induced asthma among their children because of increased industrial activity in their neighborhood. The third application is financial economics. Analyze the use and distribution of resources in market. It involves economic theory to assess how factors such as time, risk, opportunity cost, and information might produce incentives or disincentives for a certain action. The effects of climate change on financial stability and the financial and global warming implications, the impact of climate change damages on the price of financial assets and the financial position of firms and banks. Climate change is likely to gradually deteriorate the liquidity of firms, leading to a higher rate of default that could harm both the financial and the non-financial corporate sector. Climate-induced financial instability might adversely affect credit expansion, exacerbating the negative impact of climate change on economic activity. Lastly, development economics. It focuses on improving fiscal, economic, and social conditions in developing countries. Development economics includes factors such as health, education, working conditions, international policies, and so on. Among the most pressing issues facing humanity today are reducing global poverty and solving climate change and other environmental catastrophes. The environment is influenced by economic development. A specific characteristic of economic development, such as increased household and purchasing power, improved credit availability, more secure property rights, technological advancement, and stronger regulatory capacity have causal impacts.
Thank you for watching, guys, and we hope you gained some knowledge in our blog.